Hello everybody, it's Wyvern here with another bit of Total War Warhammer 2 quick match gameplay. This time around we are on the Plains of the Dead, playing as the forces of the Brave Dawi against the forces of Bretonia. And for this matchup, really I had one goal and one goal only, and that was to bring good old Gotrek to the fight and see what we could get out of him. Ever since the drop of Felix and Gotrek, I've been playing them a good amount in quick match, and I've been trying to sort of give them a fair shake, figure out what they're all about. And I figured, this matchup definitely could be a decent choice to bring Gotrek. Granted, the Bretonia Dwarf matchup is definitely a bit skewed towards the Dwarves, at least in quick match in my opinion, simply because you can spam runesmiths. But in this build we won't be using any of those, and instead going to be focusing on a mix of artillery, slayers, and some limited frontline troops, as well as our heroes, most importantly. So my lord, I'm rolling with Grombi, the angry uncle, and as you can see, we're really rolling with the double trouble here. Two very angry dwarves. Grombi coming in with Foe Seeker. He does have the Flash Bomb, of course, great snare, as well as enemy melee defense debuff. Makes enemies really vulnerable to damage output. Your damage output, Rune Axe of Grombrindle. Discouraged, not a bad ability against Bretonians who have very low leadership. And the 40% AP boost can definitely make him hit a lot harder. We also do have Grombrindle has no fear. Potentially, if your opponent sort of starts swarming you with Royal Hippogriffs or something along those lines, you can pop this, keep your artillery crews in the fight, prevent them from routing, and prevent them from getting run down by sort of Bretonian peripheral troops. Because usually, once your crews rout as the Dwarves, chances are you lost them for good. You're not going to be able to save them. Now, alongside him, we do have Gotrek. So Gotrek actually has even crazier combat stats than Papa Grombi. He's got more HP, he's got more melee defense, as you can see. Same melee attack, but he does have a bonus versus large, a whopping 35 on top of a 470 weapon strength. So against large, he has more weapon strength than Grombi. He does have significantly more charge bonus than granted. No armor, so definitely a downside, but it's quite the kit. And I actually went all in on his kit here, with the exception of his Rune Axe, but figured that wouldn't be necessary. We got Gotrek's Doom, we do have Deadly Onslaught, Foe Seeker, as well as Death Blow, of course, and finally he does have Heroic Fortitude, which is a potential for a heal when he drops below 10% health. One of the cool things about both Gotrek and Grombrindle in this matchup is they both do magic damage, and Bretonia has a lot of physically resistant cavalry and flyers, and even some of their lords, such as Lewin, for example. They've got paladins who provide Guardian Aura, and between all these things, there's a decent amount of physical resist floating around, and against that, the extra magic damage we're going to get from Grombi and Gotrek is going to be very valuable. Gotrek also does have 42 speed, which means he's going to be able to flex from point to point pretty effectively by dwarf standards. Now for the rest of our comp, it is a front line of miners, not much to be said there. They can dumpster sort of low-end Bretonian chaff with their explosives, otherwise just bog down units like men-at-arms and foot squires and whatever. Behind them, we've got more miners just to give us more zoning tools, 2 units of long range with great weapons just to provide us with a stable anchor with their high weapon with their high melee skills, their solid armor, an amazing leadership with immunity psychology. These guys are borderline unbreakable, and they will definitely be doing some brutal work. For our artillery park, we do have 2 organ guns, as well as the Goblobber. Goblobber, in my opinion, very good against enemy artillery. Sure, cannons are perhaps better at simply killing it, but Goblobber can quickly rout the enemy crews off with that leadership debuff with the Discouraged Aura, and in my opinion is better against Bretonian infantry. And then we also do have Giant Slayers, as well as Dragonback Slayers, to provide some additional anti-large support in the back. So definitely going very heavy on the melee infantry here. A little light on the snares, but we'll see what we can do. One probably good counter against this build would have been Hippogriffs, and so I was really kind of concerned about them. That's why we've got a whole bunch of Slayers, since while Organ Guns will tear a new one to cavalry and those sorts of units, they will not do well against Hippogriffs. And one of the reasons I love that unit in this matchup, one of the reasons I brought a lot of Slayers here, even though we didn't bring missile infantry. Now for my opponent, he's got super wide. He's got Lewin coming in, mounted on Beacus. Not much to be said for this guy. I think he's got full kit except Foe Seeker, so pretty well kitted out. Obviously, Lion's Shield makes him nigh invincible to ranged damage and magic, and makes him very resilient against magic damage. If you've got magic missiles, he's basically invulnerable. Excuse me. Alongside him, we do have a Damsel of Beasts with a very wonky loadout: Flock of Doom and Wissen's Wild Form. Surprisingly, no Manticore Summon, and no Amber Spear, which are, in my opinion, these spells to bring against the Dawi. So definitely, I think, a little bit of a mistake here. We do have Wild Heart as well for that extra Wisdom Magic, so definitely not a bad choice. We do also have the Power Stone, but I do think Amber Spear, at least, or the Manticore Summon would be a better way to go. For the front line, it is 3 units of Peasants. One of them has already taken a pounding from the Organ Gun. 5 units of Men-at-Arms with shields. Or sorry, not even not even shielded range, just men-at-arms, so pure trash. Some peasant bows behind that, single-unit spearman arms in the back, and then we do have 2 field trebuchets in the back who are going to be pounding away at my infantry. So a very wide build, and on the flanks we've got more cavalry. We got the Companions of Canal, we've got the Questing Knights, and then on the other end we do have Lance Formation, Knights of the Lionhearted, and Defenders of the Fleur-de-Lis. In my opinion, Knights of the Lionhearted, not a good choice in this matchup. Bonus first charge is wasted. The magic damage is actually a downside. If your opponent brings a Rune Lord, they're going to be borderline invincible to you. So I think this is a bit of a mistake here. But we will see how they perform. In the meantime, you can see the Organ Gun just demolishing the Companions. And this is really one of those brutal things. The Organ Gun is just so devastating against Bretonia. This is why I don't like bringing traditional cavalry, especially on open maps like this one. You can see the Companions already down to 37 models. And that's despite their physical resistance. So definitely not having the time of their lives, for sure. In the meantime, the Trebuchet is getting counter-batteried. My opponent is going to try to use his Trebuchets to shut down my Organ Guns, but things are definitely not looking great. Companions of Canal, they're losing 10 models to the Organ Gun fire. And on the other end, we are seeing the Defenders of the Fleur-de-Lis losing 11 models at the same time. So definitely some brutal stuff. You can see that Organ Gun fire just plunging in, and those steel balls just plowing through these poor knights, and immediately another 5 models lost, and that's a single gun. That wasn't even like a multiple guns firing, and so just some brutal stuff. These Questing Knights have also lost a model and some HP. Organ Guns are just devastating the Cav. In the meantime, the frontline fight is going down. You can see the Longbeards here engaging on the trash. I figured, you know, let's try to keep the miners back a little bit, get the blasting charges off, but seeing I'm not going to be able to get them on the men-at-arms, I sort of pivot around, dump them in the peasant mob, get them to rout. In the meantime, Lewin does dive in, so we're going to countercharge him with a very angry Gotrek and Grombi, trying to shut him down, though failing to do so. In the meantime, Companions of Canal taking a pounding, and you can see I have not been forced to move my Slayers at all. Giant Slayers just sitting around here, doing nothing, same with the Dragonback Slayers, twiddling their thumbs while the Organ Guns unload and just unleash hell on the poor Bretonian Knights. And you can see here with the Lance Formation, my opponent probably forgetting the Knights of the Lionhearted are positioned like this, 31 models, and we can see that volley just arcing through them, and they are immediately lose 9 models to that fire. So this is one of the problems. Don't stay in Lance Formation, guys, definitely a mistake, but the Organ Guns are just having an absolute field day. In the meantime, over here, the Men-at-Arms getting torn apart by Grombi. This is not even going to be a close fight. Grombi's going to determine a new one. He does pop Foe Seeker. I'm trying to keep my vigor up. And in the meantime, now granted, the Longbeards here are getting swarmed or getting hit by Lewin, which sucks. But the thing is, it doesn't really matter. They're Longbeards. They're not going to rout. In the meantime, all this cav is just getting demolished. The Questing Knights down to 39 models now. Companions of Canal basically irrelevant at this stage. Goblobber continuous to fire, routing these archers from the field. And I should have really shifted fire to these trebuchets, but I was more concerned with the immediate threat of the archers. In the meantime, Organ Gun has just devastated these Knights of the Lionheart and the Defenders. They're routed before ever engaging, so just devastating stuff. 65 kills in this bad boy. And the Organ Gun here has actually lost a model to the trebuchet fire, so, you know, you can do some counter battery fires, Bretonia, fun fact. I actually didn't even think that would happen. So call that a bit of arrogance, call that a bit of overconfidence, but interesting stuff. That said, in the pits here, Grombi and Gotrek don't give a damn, and they are just running over everything. And the thing is, even if my opponent manages to rat off the rest of my army, he is at some point going to have to deal with these bad boys, and he doesn't have much to deal with them. Trebuchets won't do it. The Knights are basically all gone, so no cycle charging with them. And already this battle is very much swinging in my favor. You can see it's about 60% in. And here in the pits, we can see the miners and the Longbeards slugging it out tooth and nail with the enemy cavalry. More miners just pouring in, trying to bog these guys down. Doing a decent job of it. Questing Knights have very good melee stats, so they're not going to take much damage. But miners did get slight boost in their melee attack in the last patch. They're doing an okay job. And in come the Dragonback Slayers, going to be able to deliver some tremendous blows, especially with the support from the artillery. Now, since Wild Form does go in, going to help these Questing Knights tank the Slayer attacks. And Longbeards actually break, despite I didn't cast Rumble Has No Fear fast enough, so definitely a bit of a mistake there. Unfortunately, my opponent was slipping up on micro here, and the miners are getting in on the archers, so definitely some brutal stuff. In the meantime, trebuchets continue firing away, still hell-bent on taking out these Organ Guns, but honestly, the Organ Guns are no longer that important. The cav is gone, and at this point, my opponent has almost nothing left. Like, sure, he's got Lewin, but at some point, Lewin's going to have to fight Gotrek and Grombi. And, yeah, he doesn't have much to do with that. In the meantime, Dragonback Slayer's getting in here on the Questing Knights, tearing them to shreds, having an absolute field day with these bad boys, and they're really not having a good time of it. Men-at-Arms here getting demolished. Now, unfortunately, my opponent does get Lewin in on the Organ Gun. I don't have Grombi, Has No Fear, so they're going to rout. Kind of sucks. What can you do? Over here, the Goblobber continues firing away, trying to take out the trebuchets. And certainly we are taking losses. Our miners here, although they are overwhelming the archers, have taken a pounding. Our Longbeards are practically gone. They're just inundated with cavalry and trash and artillery fire and archer fire. Very little left of them. Over here, the Damsel Beast using her Power Stone. The Companions of Canal down to 4 models. The Western Knights down to 6, so they are not where they want to be in life. In the meantime, Gotrek and the mob of a very angry Dawi continues plowing through. Grombi just kind of falling back while Gotrek chops down a few peasants here. Just running for dear life, carrying their pitchforks and their shovels and all that they got there as best they can. Now Gotrek over here does run past the Damsel. Bit of misplay. I should have gone after the Damsel. Even one swing could have been a huge impact there. Now Questing Knights are swinging around the flank. Definitely a bit of a clever maneuver. I don't have stuff besides the artillery to really prevent these flanks, so my opponent getting a nice little route here. But Lewin's not going to be able to stick around. He's going to be chased off by the Giant Slayers. That's not a fight he wants to be taking. And at this stage, my opponent is definitely in dire straits. Down to a handful of trebuchets, which are about to get compromised by the very angry miners. His archers in full flight, and I still have a near full health Gotrek and Grombi, so there isn't much to be said, or not much that could counter them. The Organ Gun basically just teeing off on targets of opportunity at this stage, probably doing more friendly fire than good for the team, but what can you do? Damsel Beast does dive in here, being a bit of a bane, beating up on these crews. You can see they're whacking her there with their little axes. She actually decapitates them with her sword, which is pretty nuts. Definitely a very angry lady here. Kills that guy too. Holy hell. Some nasty stuff. Poor dwarf crews. Not holding up as well as you'd expect. But what can you do? Anytime Gotrek still running around, trying to reach either the Questing Knights or reach a fight here, and just not happening, unfortunately. Lewin, in the meantime, is coming back. And at this stage, it's kind of Benny Hill action. I'm chasing my opponent all over the map with my miners. I'm trying to get a few more shots in with Goblobber, rather with the Trebuchet and the archers. Now Lewin does dive in here on the Organ Gun, routing it off. And I'm kind of just trying to catch my opponent's stuff now. He does still have the Damsel, but she is now down to a mere 830 HP. We get in on her with the Giant Slayers, but unfortunately they are getting kind of cock-blocked here by the Organ Guns, so definitely not great. They do get a few nasty chops in there, though. She's not having a good time of it. Losing hundreds of HP with every swing, of course, because they are very brutal lads, and she is getting routed. So definitely a bit of a win there. At this point, my opponent's basically down to infantry, so given that I still have several Slayers, Giant Slayers, Dragonback Slayers, Gotrek, and obviously Grombi, but Grombi's not a Slayer. But with all these Slayer units, I'm not going to be able to just chase these units off. Slayers are too quick for Bretonnian infantry to outrun. My opponent's artillery is functionally gone. His cavalry's been routed and removed from play entirely, except for the Damsel Beast and 2 leadership there. A little bit of Benny Hill here. My opponent does get a Trebuchet back online, which is nice and all, but the Organ Gun's back online. It's going to be able to shoot back potentially if it's able to push in. Over here, the peasant mob is going to start getting shot at by flank fire from the Organ Gun, causing a rout. The Goblobber gets knocked out by Lewin. Not much we could have done about that. I just don't have map control. I was trying to get rid of the infantry. Everything shatters for my opponent except these last brave spears. Damsel Beast running away on 31 HP. And it's game over, man. Game over. Lewin here is sort of still fighting. Surprisingly, because he's a full HP, he's worth so much on Beacus that he's still holding things together. He's still probably... the ratio you need is like a 2.6 to 1 army cost ratio to get trigger army losses, supposedly. So Lewin is still tanky. But he dives in here, and in comes Gotrek. In comes Grombrindle. We get the snare. And Lewin is not going to be able to hold up. He just gets torn to shreds, routed, and is fleeing from the field. So, a Pyrrhic victory for the Dawi. Now, was my build necessarily the most competitive? No, not in the slightest, I think. It was a functional build, I would say. But I think if you wanted to be more competitive, you would bring a Rune Lord. Perhaps even an extra Runesmith. That said, Gotrek, an absolute beast, I think, in this matchup. Not sure why the loading is taking quite so long here. But Gotrek definitely quite the beast. The Organ Guns, of course, demonstrating their prowess at destroying enemy cavalry. 101 and 81, finally loaded out. But 101 and 81 kills, racked up mostly against Questing Knights, Companions of Canal, units like that. Organ is definitely a potent unit. Same with the Goblobber. It didn't generate necessarily... Keep in mind, most of the kills it was doing here was against low-quality troops. Really not sure why the loading is so bad. But regardless. The Goblobber, obviously getting some great value at routing off the enemy trebuchets, preventing them from sustaining enough fire to sort of break my Organ Guns too quickly. Gotrek and Grombi, definitely nasty. In my opinion, Gotrek and Felix are actually a bit overpowered right now. Definitely a bit overtuned, in my opinion. You're free to disagree, but I think that for their cost, given their crazy stats, the two are definitely a bit much. In this match, I didn't even bring Felix. I don't think Felix is great against Bretonia. I think he's good in other matchups, but if you combo Felix and Gotrek, they're a ridiculous combo. Honestly, if you stack them on top of Grombi, you can have a nearly unkillable death ball, unless your opponent is very good at sniping out Felix in particular, because of Felix's AoE heal. So definitely some tough stuff, potentially. But yeah, all the units here performed relatively well. There wasn't much to say. My opponent definitely sloppy on the micro. Needed to get his cavalry into the fray. In my opinion, some very awkward choices on magic. I think a Manticore as well as a Amber Spear would have been way more valuable in this matchup. That said, it is definitely a tough one against the Dawi. I think Royal Hippogriffs are a much better way to go. One other comment I will make is that I think Felix is actually a really good choice in this match for the Bretonians. Because you can get those AoE heals for your heroes if you decide to sort of dive in with Lewin, or even if you bring Faye and just try to melt your opponent away with damage over time. Still a very potent combo. You can bring Felix in there. Gotrek, not so much, because Gotrek does magic damage, so he's being mitigated, and he doesn't get benefits from his bonus versus large against the Dawi, so in my opinion, not as useful. But Felix is definitely strong in this matchup for Bretonia. I also think Knights of the Lionheart are a big mistake. You could get another unit of Questing Knights in exchange for these guys. That would be much more valuable. Though personally, I think Royal Hippogriffs are just a better way to go. Even with Rune Lord and Runesmith spam, like shutting you down and preventing good maneuverability, at least for a time. The simple fact is that those units are so much tankier against cannon fire, organ gun fire. You saw in that game where dozens of knights were going down to single volleys of organ gun fire, or just when all three organ guns got their shots off. My opponent was losing a dozen or so more cavalrymen. Definitely egregious losses. Something you can cut down on by bringing Hippogriffs. And in my opinion, Hippogriffs and Footsquires are probably a safer option. Might just be my take on it, but that's just kind of been my experience. Those would really be my critiques on Van Horn's build here. So regardless, I do hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you found it fun and entertaining to see a little bit of Gotrek in action. I definitely do think him and Felix are probably going to get nerfs in an upcoming patch. They're just a bit much in certain situations, though in this case it wasn't necessarily just them, but they're the very high melee stats on Gotrek in particular, plus the healing from Felix, plus his potential self-healing, all combines to have quite the insane lord. Definitely frustration to play against for some factions in certain matchups. And in my opinion, in the case of the Dawi and the Bretonians, it's not even the worst. I think it's really the worst with Empire, because with Empire, the builds you're often forced to bring are just not good at killing Gotrek and Felix. But that's my 2 cents there. Hope you guys enjoyed. Leave your comments and critiques down below. Any requests or questions as well. And I will see you all in the next one. Bye for now.